Why, hello there, everyone. What is going up, audience? What is going on? Man, talking is so hard today, but we are starting to get packed in here right now, and I cannot blame them because MC versus Bomber is what is taking place right now. And I gotta say, MC looking so strong in this tournament. It's one of those things where how do you get into the skin of that build? How do you get under the skin and get past the early harassment? So far, the Terrans I've seen go up against him have really struggled here.
They have, and MC's off to a good start here. Game number 2 is now underway here. It's gonna be Star Station.
All right, so up in the top right side. Currently down 1 game. He did give MC a run for his money, but he did be a little bit too aggressive, I felt like. We'll see if he can pull it back in. Give it up for Bomber.
And over here at the bottom left of Star Station, we have SKMC.
Always a huge fan favorite. So fun to watch his play, his interviews, really everything about him is absolutely hilarious. There's even funny videos of him just like hanging out in hotels and stuff because he is an absolute hilarious person. But you know what? As I said before, being nice and funny in StarCraft doesn't really get you anywhere. It's going to be down to this. Now, I'm kind of curious with Star Station on these forced cross-spawn locations, as this is going to be the MLG version of Star Station. Can MC actually pull off something like the Stargate opener we saw before? Because that's a long flight distance. There's not a really easy way to get inside that main base, but there is a lot of kind of dead area within the main base of either player where you can hide tech. So is MC going to attempt that?
He very well might. One strategy that's very strong on this map is the Blink Stalker Mothership Core rush off of a single base. You can either kill your opponent or you can contain him and get that macro advantage. It's so strong on this map because of, like you said, that extra space in the main. Plenty of areas to blink up to.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Blink Stalkers we've seen actually be quite effective in this matchup already in this tournament, so we'll have to see if he does decide to go ahead and do that right now. We do have just the barracks going down, and no surprise here, we do have gas for Bomber already. Now, really, we're kind of used to seeing Terran players back in Wings of Liberty just be a little bit more aggressive as far as their macro is concerned, but in Heart of the Swarm, it kind of reminds me of the beta of StarCraft 2, where, you know, there's some new units, there's some new timings, players are going to utilize those until the metagame is figured out, but unfortunately, I feel like MC, if there's anyone who has a grasp of PvT right now, it is definitely him. I mean, number 1, beating MVP. Number 2, we know that he was playing a lot of Heart of the Swarm when it was during in beta, and number 3, I'm sure he's prepared for this tournament, so I don't know if doing those new timings is really going to take MC by surprise.
Very experienced player, a veteran of tournaments all around the world is MC. Bomber going with the gas. It looks like a very similar build by Bomber. MC, as we talked about, is he going to go for that Stargate or perhaps a Blink Stalker build?
The first Stalker is going to be on the way right here. Do note that MC did not make a Zealot, which getting out an early Zealot in PvT is kind of a weird thing because if you don't use him in the early stages, you know, dealing with an SCV, dealing with a Bunker or a Reaper or something like that, then he doesn't really do a lot until later in the game because you want to be aggressive with these Stalkers if possible. The SCV actually managing to slip right in here. He's not going to see a whole lot, but that is actually indirectly very important because he knows that, all right, we do see a gateway, we do see a cyber core, but that means no second gateway, that means no expansion. So what that means is there's a high probability of a Stargate, which is exactly on the way. We do have the Starport on the way here for Bomber. One thing I'm curious to see is if one of these Terran players goes for a Viking first. Is that going to lock this down? Because honestly, I don't think we've seen a player go Viking first versus this opener, and I just feel like the Mothership and Oracle are going to be locked down if we do get a Viking first.
Viking with its great range, of course, excellent against the Mothership Core and Oracle. Both those Protoss air units cannot hit other air targets. Bomber going for the expansion inside his zone base, a much safer option against an aggressive opener like the one MC is using. MC trying to put a little bit of pressure on early with 2 Stalkers and Mothership Core. A Widowmine, though, is at the front of the ramp. If MC's not careful, he's going to take a big hit.
He's got to be careful of that Widowmine. We do have a medevac first here, so we're going to see exactly how this works out. The first Oracle in production right now. Of course, Chrono boosting that out is the boss sauce. Notice that MC is also going to go ahead and expand here. Looks like he's going to fall back just a little bit. He saw there was no supply depot, there was no bunker there, nothing he can really get his teeth sunk into with those stalkers. Can't really do any kind of harassment. And again, you never know, is there going to be a Viking here or not? But Bomber deciding to go for the exact same thing. So it's basically same game, only different map, and then obviously a different game because they are going, you know, basically the same thing here. An early drop from Bomber. He used that Ignite Afterburners right away. He wants to get there as quickly as possible. The Mothership Core, once again, might actually spot this slightly before it gets there. No, he does change angle there slightly. So MC also working on the Phoenix here. So Bomber feels confident, even after losing that last game, to try it again.
Same build from Bomber, this time the medevac. I don't think MC spotted. Mothership Core's back to defend. Phoenixes are going to be ready, but the units will come out of the medevac. It's going to be a one-way trip because of those Phoenix. How much damage can those units do before they're taken out?
Oh, I just realized MC has so many idle probes here behind his Nexus. I don't know if we caught a glimpse of that. They've been sitting there for a while. That is 7 probes. There's going to be the photon overcharge. So hopefully MC realizes, there he goes. He's going to go ahead and move those probes away. Oh, that was such a devastating mistake there. The Phoenix get taken out by the Widow Mines, which means the medevac actually escapes. The Widow Mines able to survive. The Oracle, meanwhile, on the top right side, able to get 14 kills. So overall workers killed is 11 here for MC. That Oracle just devastating here. And this is what you have to deal with as Terran. You have to leave something behind to defend this. But I got to say, MC making some very costly mistakes as well. He might lose both these Stalkers here in just a second. And yeah, he is. He's saying, you know what, I have to sacrifice these. So down goes one. This is very intentional right now. He needs to make sure not to take too much economic damage with his probes. And that rally point is still messed up. 3 probes now sitting down there. This is very, very uncharacteristic here of MC.
A little bit of sloppiness from MC, but his Oracle did so much damage to Bomber. He's got a 20 supply lead. He still has some air units out in the field now. You know, his main, yeah, there's those probes misrouted and it's not mining that well, but his natural is running full steam, whereas if you look at Bomber's base, he has 0 SCVs mining from his natural.
Yeah, and he's only got 20 on the field here as well overall. So both these players definitely fumbling a little bit in this game. I mean, that is definitely bound to happen when you play as much StarCraft as they do, but you can't let it get into your head. You have to just kind of focus right here and just go with what you got. Now, MC is still in the lead. I still feel like maybe going for a Viking here and leaving it at the main base to deal with the early Mothership Core, then leave it there to deal with the follow-up harassment. It might be the better choice. Of course, these players know a lot more than I do, so I'm kind of curious to see, though, can Bomber recover from this early harassment right now? Because 2 Oracles are on the field. I think MC is very wise to stop with the Oracle production and start picking up Phoenix production, because right now there's no chance of drops here from Bomber. There's barely a chance that he can even expand now, because think about the harassment potential for flying Protoss units now. 2 Oracles, 4 to 5 Phoenix. You can attack every single base at the exact same time, because you have to remember that 1 Oracle can kill an entire mineral line. It only takes 2, it's like 1 or 2 seconds to kill each worker, and you can begin harassing, similar to how Terran players drop everywhere at once. Now Protoss players can do with the Oracle and Phoenix.
MC trying to put some more harass on that natural as Bomber pulls SCVs to mine from that location, but Bomber has his Marines ready to defend. Bomber progressing in upgrades with that +1 weapons. MC following suit with the +1 armor. Both players going to sit back and try to recover from the shenanigans that happened in that early game.
Every single SCV right here is invaluable for Bomber, so the fact that MC is able to be so aggressive, grabbing these ones, trying to transfer down to that natural is just huge. He gets the scouting potential. He even knows that the starport is on the southern side of his base, which he could later snipe with some stalkers or something like that, and that starport is a very valuable structure. I'm actually surprised to see Bomber put that so low into his base, especially with that reactor add-on. That's just asking to get sniped a little bit later, but we shall see if that actually plays a role here in this game. More barracks going to be added on. The natural finally secured here, and you can see Bomber taking out those unbuildable plates. It's very important to do that, because if you accidentally right-click on those, your army can actually just be destroyed because they stop there to attack as opposed to running away, which is actually what you had intended for. +1 armor on the way for MC. He's pushing his supply lead further and further right now. 3 pylons to prevent any sort of supply block. And, you know, similar to last game, MC's dictating the pace of the early game.
He absolutely is. The Stargate units are essential for that purpose. Adding more and more gateways at MC's base. MC's going to be looking to do, I think, a charge lot time in here.
I think so. Almost 1 Phoenix going to go down, but that did force a stem right here. Of course, keeping the medevac energy lower than he would like, but Bomber has been sitting back a little bit with those medevacs, so they're going to be just fine. 1 Phoenix down in the red. But MC, I mean, you just slowly have to pick away like this. It's kind of how Zerg players sometimes have to play with their Mutalisk, is trying to pick out as many units as they can, but not overcommitting with them, because you're not going to win in a straight-on battle. One Phoenix does go down, but he's going for the Vikings here. That is huge. Those Vikings, once again, need to be out. Although, I guess not so much in this game, because as you were mentioning before, Charge Lot with the Templar Archive. So MC going basically the same thing he did last game, but just now altering it, where instead of Colossus, he's going for Psystorm. And you know what's interesting is Bomber is trying to blind counter what he thinks is coming, because so far everything he's seen has been the same. But these Vikings actually serve no purpose, really, if you think about it, because with the High Templar here, the Storms can just eat them alive.
Storms are going to be instrumental. We've seen MC use them so effectively versus Alive in the WSS qualifier match, and also he's going to be looking to use them extremely effectively here against Bomber. Going for the 2-base play, +2 armor and Storm is going to be the cue for when he launches his attack, and I don't think Bomber's going to be ready. There's going to be no ghosts on the field. He doesn't have that forward position, so he can kite backwards, and if you're pinned in your base against Storm, that's a bad spot to be in.
And Storm right here is basically asking to get scanned, but I think Bomber's so far behind in his economy where he would like to be. I mean, just looking at his vision, he hasn't seen an update on MC's base since the first gateway, so he's not going to know exactly what's going to be headed his way at all. Looks like the Phoenix is going to go ahead and attempt to attack the factory. There's really no reason for MC to be doing this, because he wants to keep these Phoenix alive to deal with those. And even bringing along the Oracles, I think, is just, it's just a risk that there's really no benefit to, unless you're going to be trying to harass that mineral line. There's missile turrets there now to hold on. Like, why would you send the Oracles with the army there when they're not going to be able to do anything versus so many units? Does manage to reveal that army, so he's got to be able to keep an eye on it. If you take a look at the vision of the Protoss, he knows exactly what that army composition is, and he can see it where it's at and the preemptive split here. So having those Oracles with it is nice, but you just got to be so careful. MC being awfully aggressive here. This could go badly for him. He doesn't land a Storm, but he gets one good one. There's the big stim, though.
Oh, a lot of buy units go down there, but they do take out all the High Templar. With the High Templar missing, Bomber's SCVs can tank very well. Marauders, Cotting, Medivacs microing behind the force fields. Great micro by Bomber, but half his army is actually sitting idle here over on the right side. Yeah, you have to remember that there's no SCVs left in the main base. Bomber, though, he is going to be the aggressor here. He's sending out all of his SCVs. Can he catch this army out of position? That's a lot of charge loss. The one Archon right there, already up to 5 kills. He can just eat those SCVs alive. And the SCVs do activate the charge ability. The Phoenix might get taken down. No, the Storm coming out of nowhere, landing on top of that army. It looks like Bomber completely struggling here. He's at about half the supply of MC. He can't micro half his army because of the force fields, and GG, MC has done it again. Able to defeat Bomber there. MC showing us that that build is so good. It's one of those builds where I want to go home and start laddering, because it just makes sense throughout the entire duration of that. So there's MC, gonna go ahead and take a quick break. There's Bomber right there, and I just gotta say, I think it comes down to not having the early Viking. To me, that seems like the missing piece. You can't drop aggressively. You can't really defend the Oracles very effectively. You can't deal with the Mothership Core. To me, the missing piece is a Viking. Maybe everyone on Twitter can tell me why I'm wrong, but that's my guess. We'll have to see if he does it, because MVP and Bomber both did not go for the Viking, and I think they're paying the price for it. MC is just showing that, you know, without an early Viking, he's controlling the air units incredibly well. I mean, he didn't lose an Oracle for almost that entire game until near the very end of that, when, of course, he unfortunately ran a little bit too close to the Marines there. Still got the Revelation off, and this is the build that, you know, I really want to try out, but I'm also scared of it, because all those Protoss air units are so fragile. It takes a player like MC to really utilize them to their fullest extent.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's nothing should be taken away from MC just because he's using a good build, because the micro required, if you lose those 2 Oracles, all of a sudden you don't have any harassment potential, you don't have any map control, and your Phoenix all of a sudden have a much harder time dealing with those Marines. So I did take a look at the quick army value graph as well as the workers active. MC was ahead in both regards. The harassment from the Oracle delayed the amount of workers that Bomber had. Bomber was actually never able to stabilize on his worker count, which of course directly affects the size of your army overall throughout the entire game. So it's got to come down to the early game. Bomber has to realize, look, this is what MC's doing. I have to deal with it. I have to deal with it correctly, or it's going to be a 3-0 sweep. I will say, though, if Bomber is in that booth thinking about that build, he can, and I think will come up with a way to deal with it, but we're going to have to see in the next game. So we're going to go ahead and jump to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, it's going to be match point between MC and Bomber.